Let's go. Season 4 Necromancer versus Uber Lilith. Watch how fast we are just going to be melting Lilith as soon as she comes out. It's just going to be instant deletion. Look at that. She's already dead, man. Alright guys, let's hop right into it. The brand new Necromancer build for Season 4. This is going to be the Summoner build. This one is going to encompass all of the minions versus focusing on one to kind of fulfill that class fantasy of having every single pet here. So I want to start off really quick by going over what has actually changed in Season 4. The biggest change is actually this line over here where it says minions will inherit 100% of the player's stats. That means your crit, your attack speed, all of those bonuses that you're going to be getting on yourself will actually apply to the minion. At the moment, some of them do actually double dip because it depends on your location of your character or some sort of a condition. So you can actually double up on the stats. In addition to that, there are some changes, and specifically one that really helps out the Necromancer is being able to have the mages apply vulnerability instantly and consistently, also slowing them down because you're going to have that cold slow. And on top of that, a lot of the stats now can actually roll with plus ranks to specifically on the skill tree in the passives, ranks to whatever summon that you want. That could be Golem, the Mage, or the Warrior. So that's the biggest change. So now that we have that out of the way, let me go ahead and move this so you guys can actually see the gameplay here in the background. We're going to be doing over level Sigil 100 content. This is the brand new pit, and this build is going to be very, very powerful. So starting right off, let me go ahead and move this so we can get as much gameplay as possible here in the little shot. So starting right off, let's go over the skills and how it plays. And this, guys, is going to be one of the easiest builds for anyone to play. If you're brand new to Diablo, or if you have maybe a significant other, a little brother, and you want them to get into the game, this is going to be the easiest build that they don't really need to know too much about the game. As long as you kind of tell them which aspects to get, they will start deleting content very easy, and that is because the minions are just going to be so much stronger. So starting right off on the skills. So as far as our skills go, raise skeleton, you basically just activate it to get your skeletons out, and then that's it. You don't really need to activate it too often unless you're doing high tier content, because things will start to take damage. But alternatively, if you get the Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul, it will auto activate, and then you don't even have to kind of heal your minions, but it's not something that you really need to do in the lower content. And then we have our Golem. Golem is basically used to add another form of unstoppable, which is really great. That is something that also got changed, which is big. And then our biggest thing that we're going to be activating on bosses is Army of the Dead. That is our ultimate that's going to give us way more damage. Then running Decrepify, that will also help us out with cooldown reduction over on the skill tree. This is actually one of the best things that Necromancer has at its disposal, is being able to have your cooldowns reduce with Decrepify. This is massive. This is one of the biggest things with the Necromancer. And then we have Corpse Explosion. It just allows us to get some damage to not only proc our aspect of disobedience if you do want to do higher tier content, but it also does act as a source to consume corpses, because we will get more damage and we will buff our minions by getting some more damage. Then we are going to be using Bone Prism to kind of lock things in. It's really great for elite packs, but it also will activate a Shadow Blight, and that will make the enemies take more damage from our minions. And then as far as like the gameplay goes, it's pretty much you see a boss, you activate your Army of the Dead, but other than that, you can just kind of spam Corpse Explosion, you can spam Decrepify. They're not very like skill intensive skills that you really need to target. Although Decrepify, yes, you can get a better AoE, but with Corpse Explosion being so free, and you're going to get so much attack speed with this build, it's just going to be able to just auto target, especially if you're playing on controller. It's a huge advantage with this build. But as far as the Book of the Dead, this is what we're going to be going for. So we're going to be going for the Skeletal Warriors Revenge over here with the Skeletal Warriors Reapers. So this one's really good because it's going to allow you to have your attacks from the Skeletal Warrior Reapers reduce your cooldowns. This is actually going to get updated. It doesn't show it right here, but you can get a 3-second cooldown, and that's really nice. And then for our Skeletal Mages, we're going to go with Cold, so this way we don't have to activate Corpse Tendrils or Bone Spear or anything really to activate Vulnerability, as it is something that's a little bit more difficult on the Necromancer class. This is just going to automatically activate it for you. And then with the Golem, if you want more survivability, I really like having the Golem's Blood. So this allows the Blood Golem to absorb some damage, but if you do want some more damage or vulnerability, the Iron Golem can be another option. The Iron Golem, or the Golem in general, you only get one of them anyways, so what it comes down to is the Golem can still do really good damage. I mean, there's a node that gives it incredible damage on the Paragon board, but since you only have one, if I was to focus in on one, if you want to make this a more competitive build, all you need to do is just try to roll your skeleton mages as the main source of your damage. You could still get your skeleton warriors, your golem, and just kind of activate them to kind of have like a zoo, a pet army. But the main thing that is actually going to be dealing most of your damage in most scenarios is going to be the mages. So that would be where I would say if you do want to take the build a little bit more seriously, you want to do higher pit pushing, the mages are definitely going to be the go-to. And that is because their scaling is just a little bit better, and the AI is better on them for sure because they're just going to be spamming some stuff. The minions in general have always been kind of lackluster in Diablo 4. Their AI doesn't seem to be on like the aggressive side, which is something that I think that could be improved just for feedback because this is obviously PTR, but I'm sure the build will come out and be really, really powerful, if not even more powerful, because minions have not received that much love. And the cool thing with this build, guys, is all the gameplay you guys are seeing right now. Heck, in the gameplay, I actually dropped the Ring of Metalin, so I didn't even have it equipped. Like right now, what you guys are seeing, even when we were doing the pit. But if you do want to do bosses, the Ring of Metalin will definitely help out. But we have no uniques for this build. So that's it for the Book of the Dead. Now, as far as the uniques and aspects over here, again, if you do get rid of the Metalin, Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul, I don't even have them right now as you're seeing in the gameplay, but those are really great items to help out with the build. So as far as the aspects as well as some of the affixes and role stuff, there is a bunch of stuff in the notes over here, and the reason why is right now on the builder websites, we're in Season 3 right now, but this is for Season 4. The gameplay that you guys are seeing is Season 4 without the seasonal themes buff, so this build is obviously going to get even stronger. Heck, all the builds that you're seeing on the PTR are going to be even stronger when we get that seasonal theme. But here's what I recommend. Juggernaut's aspect is basically used in every single build. The aspect of disobedience is optional. And the reason why I say it's optional is because do you really want to push really high tier pits? If so, then disobedience and Juggernaut will basically cap you out in armor. Then you don't even have to worry about armor at all. But if you do want to run lower tier content, you can run any utility slot in there. That's excellent. Then we are running Intercom. Intercom is actually really good. It did receive a different buff, so don't look at what it says here. It does something different. It just gives you free damage, and then you can hold still. And again, some of these things will double dip damage to close as well as distance enemies. Try to get those as rolls. Keep in mind, we're on the PTR. Things are subject to change, but some of these can double dip for your minions because they inherit your stats. And then we have Hardened Bone, just gives you some extra damage reduction. And then Blood Getter's aspect over here. This one is something that is important. So some of these have actually been changed. And some of these, you're just going to have to read some of the notes over here. Like the Occult Dominion over here. These basically got fused into one aspect. This one does something different now. This one lets you have the Skeletal Priest buffs affect you, so it's just more damage. But and it gives you like a heal that activates on yourself. But Occult Domination actually gives you skeletal mages and warriors, and it's in one. And you want to put this one on your amulet because it gives you 50% bonus. So instead of having +2/+2, you get +3/+3 on it, which is really, really good. And then as far as our weapons aspect over here, we're running Plunging Darkness. So when we use our Bone Prison, which actually gives us extra cooldown, there's a lot of cooldown reduction that we are trying to incorporate into the build, Decrepify, as well as getting the Skeletal Warrior Reapers. This is going to be excellent because it's going to reduce the cooldown. This helps out with the Bone Prison. When you spawn it in, it's going to add some more damage. And this is how we activate Shadow Blight without even having it equipped on our bar. So it just you activate it, it's good, it's free extra damage. And then over here, I already mentioned the Occult Dominion. And then we're running the Unyielding Commander's aspect. So when you have army that is activated, your minion is basically, you're not going to be taking damage, and they get a huge boost to attack speed over here. And then the aspect of the Frenzied Dead. Each time one of your minions damages an enemy, they're going to get more attack speed. Pretty much most of the time you will be at 100%. I know this is going to, it says that it adds like a crazy amount, but you still want some base amount as well, but this is a great thing to have. And then reanimation over here, so our minions are going to get increased damage while they're alive, and so this is excellent just because, well, it's just free extra damage over here. For the gems, it's been pretty much the same as all the seasons, so Emerald, Armor, and then, Emerald, and then in the Armor we put rubies, and then in the Jewelry we can put diamonds or skulls if you already are res kept, because you are going to be int based. So some of the stuff that you can look out for on the affixes, life, int, all res, and then there's an important note, don't go over 100% attack speed. There are some things like accelerating aspect that can kind of break the cap because there's 2 attack speed categories in Diablo 4, which is never really explained in it. But there's also ranks to minions. Now, this is actually really important here. So, helm, chest, gloves, pants, and boots can all roll plus ranks to minions. You can get whatever. It doesn't really matter. You can get golem, skeleton warrior, skeleton mage. But again, if you want my suggestion, and you want to go as high tier as possible, just pump it all into mage. But if you really don't care about like going for the highest tier of pit, you can get a couple into golem, couple into warrior, couple into mage. Most of the stuff is just kind of works better, because this way all of your minions will do a little bit more damage, and that way you are clearing essentially faster than just pumping all into one. But you'll see in the Paragon board, we do try to go and get kind of more of the minions damage versus just getting one specific type, which again will still help out be faster in the pit. But again, if you're pushing the highest tier content, you want to do those level 200 bosses, then yeah, mages are definitely going to be the best. And they all actually have different multipliers. So golem has a 25x per point, and then mages is 20 and warriors is 15. But technically warriors, you're supposed to get extra warriors, but again, overall the mages just gives you the best results. And then getting extra crit, because remember, your crit will transfer over. So on your amulet, gloves, and rings, get crit on those. And then again, ranks to skeleton, mage, golem, those are all like really great things to have. And then on your tempers, you can get minion attack speed. Remember, don't try to go over 100% because it's, you know, you're not going to get the ability to go over 100. Again, there are certain things that do go over, but there's also a temper for skeletal mages, chance to attack twice. You can get damage to cursed enemies or any damage type to 1 minion, or which is like skeletal, or you can get all minions. I just like to get all of the minion damage type, but again, any of these could be good. Cooldown, life, armor, movement, speed, dodge, those are all great. And there are some notes over here, like some of the stuff that's a little bit different, like necrotic carapace will give you armor, and then inner column got a nice little buff. And like I said, if you have Ring of the Melon or Sagular's Soul, those are good to equip. I'll update the builder once the website has all the things, and this way you guys can mouse over each individual one. But it's not like you have to get life, you have to get, you know, the specific ones like you used to, because certain roles could go higher in different categories. But cooldown reduction is always going to be good as well. And as far as the skill tree, let's go into the skill tree. So at the very beginning, you have to put in enough points to go on. So you can put 3 points over here if you want to, or you can put 1 point into Hugh Fletch. If you want to run Acolyte's Reap on Reap, it's not bad because it just gives you extra attack speed over there, and hitting an enemy increases your damage reduction. So this is probably one of the best like things that you can throw on to this build if you want to add it into your bar for like another skill. But we're kind of tight on room here. We do run Blight. We don't use it, but we run it just so minions can deal more damage, and this is basically something that we get for free off of Bone Prison. So when we activate Bone Prison, it's going to give us cooldown reduction for the enemies that we hit. So it can give us up to 3 cooldown reduction, 3 seconds that is. And if you want to put more points in it, that's fine too. And then we're just getting things like increased damage of all of the minions. If you want to put a point into Blood Mist, that is optional. I like to run it sometimes if I'm doing some certain boss mechanics and I want to kind of avoid something like Uber Lilith. Even though you can one-shot her, well, you still have to do the whole mechanic like you normally would with any build. But yeah, this build is absolutely crazy. And then we have the Blighted Corpse Explosion. So this one's going to release a darkness skill, and it just basically procs your disobedience a lot more often, and is your way of consuming corpses. If you want to, you can get plagued as well. It doesn't really matter too much. You could put way more points in a corpse explosion if you want to make a build that does benefit off of just you doing damage, but I wanted to make this a pure minion build. You could do things like Black River and Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul, and you could just basically have an auto walking necromancer. Again, you could legit go AFK with this build as long as you open up your Paragon board in the Helltides. You can just get free loot, basically. Keep in mind, the reason why you have to open up your Paragon board is because the game will kick you for being AFK, but if you're in your Paragon board, well, the game's not going to kick you because it thinks you're trying to do something with that. It's a little bonus tip over there. But just getting extra movement speed, this is another newer thing over here where we just got extra movement speed. I think this was in like later in Season 3. But just getting skeletal mages over here, and then we get this fortification, and then if we can get some extra movement speed, that's good over here. And then pretty much just all of the minion stuff. So more Golem Mastery. We got Army of the Dead. It's going to resummon everything. It helps just in case maybe you get one shot. And in the end game, there's a lot of builds, including Necromancer. There's so many builds that if you go in the high tier pits when the monster is very high levels, when Uber Lilith comes out and does her Blood Wave thing, that very often one shot. So if you do die, this is really excellent because you just activate and you basically all your minions back really fast. And then I put in pretty much max points into everything except for Bonded Essence. You can put 3 points into it if you want to remove the other point in Blood Mist. I just like sometimes swapping this in and out. Again, it's basically for Uber Lilith, but it's not a big deal if you want to go out and put 3 points in there. And then obviously Callens over here, this is the minion one. It actually has a different effect, but it's relatively the same in Season 4. So that was another update. Now, the Paragon board. This is where this build goes absolutely crazy because we get so many. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over here, and we get almost every one of the legendary nodes, which is not very often, and it's just because necromancers are so incredibly good. So the starter board is going to be on exploit, and then the next board is going to be cult leader at dead razor, and we will be getting this over here, so more minion stats. And the order does absolutely matter for this. And there's another thing that they mention is a lot of these numbers are way too hard to hit for the yellow ones, so don't worry, you'll hit them once they do the new update. This was just noted in one of the patch notes. And then we're running a hulking monstrosity with control over here. We're also going to get this. I mean, this is 100x damage on golem, which is crazy. And then, yeah, we're going to get control over here. The cold from the mages will apply a chill. And then in our next board, which is going to be flesh eater, we're getting corporeal. We're also going to be getting this. This is where you do need something to consume corpses. If you have the Ring of the Sacrificial Soul, then you don't have to play. If you don't want to, you don't have to play Corpse Explosion. I just really like Corpse Explosion. You could spam the Minions ability as well, but I really like having the Corpse Explosion because it adds the AoE, and on top of that, you can get some extra movement speed, and it can proc your Disobedience. And then we're running Scent of Death over here, and we're going to be picking that one up because we're going to get some extra damage or damage reduction. So yeah, Scent of Death, and then Warrior for our Skeleton Warriors. And then we're running Bloodbath and Mage for our final board. Now, if you do want to, because the bosses aren't going to be crowd controlled really instantly, you could remove control. You can throw in Golem. Golem does enough damage in most scenarios to kind of delete stuff. However, that is the one that we don't get, because the reason why, if you're wondering why we don't get Golem, and you'll see a lot of builds do this as well, and the reason why in even the newer minion builds, a lot of people aren't running the Golem glyph, is because the Golem glyph just gives bonuses to Golem, while the other one over here, like the Skeleton Warrior damage bonus, this one works, and with the additional bonus, it gives minions gain increased armor, and then with the Mage one, it gives them increased resistances, where the Golem one, if we can go ahead and click on edit, I'll show you guys real quick, this one over here, and this is like why no one really gets it. So if we go to the Golem, one over here, it's just golems get more damage, and it does add a lot more damage, but it's specifically to golem. It doesn't really help your team, but that is another one in terms of options if you do want it. But that's going to wrap it up, guys. That's going to be the brand new minion build for the next season. I'm curious to know if you guys have played it. What do you think of it? I think minions are going to be probably one of the most fan favorite builds, and again, if you guys want to make it a little bit more meta, I would definitely recommend doing skeleton mages. But a lot of people just kind of want that pet army, and that's why I wanted to make this build kind of show off all the minions versus just investing into one. But do what you want to. It's still going to be faster though if you put points into other ones at lower tier content. And I think most people kind of just want to play Helltides. They're not interested in, like, you know, doing the 200 level 200 bosses back to back to back. But again, just mention that as a note. I'll probably make another follow-up video to this if they do happen to change some stuff, and we can maybe make a pure mage build, which would be arguably faster, but that's going to be only good for boss killers versus just your open world content, which is pretty much what they want us to do. That's going to be it, though. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn that bell. If you guys want to see more Diablo content, and as well as check the pinned comment, because it'll have the link in case I was too fast with anything. But take care, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.